inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment, and you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barrett and Sue. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. I done fed up by the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up by the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look where the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benschop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benschop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benschop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, who tell the truth? Mark Benschop.
Jay, guess what? It's 6 minutes after 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. My name is Mark Benschop. Coming up just a few minutes from now, the Honorable Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, no stranger to you guys. The Congresswoman, I have a couple of questions for her. Immigration, of course, Trump has been threatening deportation. He has been threatening a lot of things, violations of people's constitutional rights, all manner of things as it pertains to immigration and other matters. But specifically, we have several things we have to ask the Congresswoman this evening, Honorable Yvette Clarke, about the elections and why it's important for folks to go out and vote on elections day. Let me see how many of you guys know elections. When is elections day? Sometime in November, right? Just 15 days. Do the math. 15 days or so from now. And so maybe if you have a question or two for the Honorable Congresswoman, maybe I'll just ask her that as a little bonus. But please share the link. I've noticed that some of you guys are saying that you've shared the link already. Tom Anderson, I see you there, front row. Carl Miller always believes he's the brightest in the room. November 5th. William Bill Cato always believed that he's the brightest in the room too. Denise Adams, well, yeah, Denise trying. Good night to you, Miss Adams. Good night to all of you. You know you're a family here on 107.1 FM. Amit Sital, good night to you too. All of you. Deborah Sharona Lynch, welcome back from your vacation in Barbados. We thought you were going to overstay your time in Barbados, but we're glad to have you guys back. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing the link. Tom Anderson was missing in action last evening, but it was a last minute something. And Tom, Tom is family to us here on 107.1 FM. So we'll see what his schedule is like. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe the next day. A busy guy, probably writing another book or so. All right. So Yvette Clarke, the Honorable Congresswoman, is going to be with us shortly. Lemon, let us know when you are ready with the Honorable Congresswoman. And thanks again for all of you who have already shared the link. And you've got to spread the word, elections coming up, not just the elections in the United States of America, but elections in Guyana coming up sometime next year. And we know the PPP regime, they're so afraid of the elections. Why? Because they're not certain whether they're going to be installed again. They're not certain that they can rig the elections as they have done in 2020. They rigged it and tried to cover it up, and then they jumped on the mountaintop, and then they start to bawl out. They start to yell out. What is it? Yell. Sounds like I'm saying yellow man. I know the Honorable Congresswoman has roots in Jamaica. Her mom and her dad, and council member Una Clarke, Dr. Una Clarke, trailblazer out there in Brooklyn, New York, paved the way for a lot of young politicians. And if you're young politicians in Brooklyn or maybe in Queens or wherever else, you have to salute and give thanks to the Congresswoman's mother, Dr. Una Clarke. Dr. Clarke, if you're watching, good evening to you. 90-something years old. 90-something years old. And so in Guyana, as they prepare for elections in 2025, ensure that you go on the pages that will tell the truth. Pages that will tell the truth, if you know what I mean. And let me just say, Amit Sital, we know that you're angry. We know what the PPPC did to you and your family. I recall you when you were a little boy, what you endured when the PPP broke your house down, your parents' house down, somewhere there on the East Coast, right opposite Prattville 1. We know it. And just, we understand the emotions and things. We understand the emotions and how they operate, what they do, and so forth and so on. So we understand those sort of things. All right, then. So what else is this? It is that we can say other than ensure that you spread the word, let people share the link, and let them like the page as well. We don't want the others to be boasting and bragging that so many thousands of people like their page. And you've got to do what is best too in your interest. All right, lemon, just be prepared. It's 9:11 at this time and coming up at 9:15. I can't wait to have this one-on-one with the Honorable Congresswoman of Brooklyn, Yvette Clarke. She will be on with us shortly. I want to ask her some questions about the threats by Trump, as Trump wants to get back in the White House, and he's talking about immigration. Some folks are really scared because they know he's nuts enough, to do all sorts of things, regardless of whether he's trampling on the rights, the constitutional rights of people. And I know it is folks like the Honorable Congresswoman Yvette Clarke is definitely not going to sit down and allow that to happen. As you know, the Honorable Congresswoman, she's running for re-elections as well out there in Brooklyn. And those of you who are in her district, ensure that you vote. Ensure that you give the Congresswoman, and I want to ask her this particular question, why, and we all know why you guys should go out and vote for her again, but I want to hear it directly from the Congresswoman to urge you guys to go out, not one or two or three, but in your numbers, thousands of you go out and vote, because the Honorable Congresswoman, and we don't just talk about people just like that. We know that she is action oriented. She gets the job done. She fights for you guys. She doesn't sleep on the job. Congresswoman Yvette Clarke fights for your rights. It doesn't matter where you're from, whether you're Guyanese, you're Jamaican, you're Trinidadian, you're Haitian. It doesn't matter, or Bajan, or even Americans. She fights for everyone in her district and even beyond. She fights the good fight. And that is why it is important that you go out there in your numbers and ensure that she is re-elected by a landslide. You've got to do it across the board. Politicians who work for you, go out and vote for them. And one of the other questions I really want to ask the Congresswoman is why? Why? Because based on some of the polls you're seeing, it's really close. We don't want it to be close. Don't take chances or whatever. You've got to go out and vote on November 5th. And you've got to make this happen. You've got to make it happen. We don't want a repeat of what happened for the 4 years that Trump was in office, and the misery and the threats and the disrespect and all manner of things that happened during his 4 years. We've got to get a calm 4 years, and we can only do that if, of course, you do the right thing. Don't take things for granted. Go out and vote. All right. What else is happening in your neck of the woods? I know a lot of dirty things happening in Guyana, right? The dirty politics and all these things. Dirty politics happening in Guyana. But as soon as we're done with the Honorable Congresswoman, we're going to get right back to Guyana. Lots of things we want to talk to you about. Police corruption. We're talking about politicians involved in killings and allegations, mind you, and all these different things. We want to talk about those things. We know the political charges against individuals such as Roxanne Myers. Imagine shackling Roxanne, putting her for 72 hours and all manner of things on trumped up charges, along not only Roxanne Myers, but scores of others, depriving these individuals an opportunity to earn a living in their own country, in this so-called oil-rich Guyana, you know what I mean? But yet the money, the billions of dollars going into the pockets of those corrupt goons in Guyana, and nothing, hardly anything for the ordinary working class people. And so we'll talk about that aspect of what's happening in Guyana, and massive corruption in the Guyana police force, political interferences, and all these things in the Guyana police force. Is there anything else that's happening in your neck of the woods as we prepare to have the Honorable Congresswoman? There's something about the Congresswoman that that I really do admire. And one of the things that I admire about her is that whenever there is some sort of cause, justifiable cause to stand up and denounce human rights violations, discrimination, whether it's in Brooklyn, wherever it is, in the United States of America, or even Guyana. And so she has been a friend. She's a good friend of Guyana on the right side, fighting for justice. And there's never hesitation on her part to not speak the truth and stand up for the people. So, Lemon, if and when you have the Honorable Congresswoman, please let us know so we can rock and roll tonight. We can rock and roll tonight. Good. So William Cato is saying here, her name is Yvette Clarke. She is a U.S. Congresswoman for New York. Now, who is asking that question? Certainly not you, Mr. Bill Cato, because everybody knows that. At some point in time, I don't know, maybe next time around, the Congresswoman is still young. She's still young. She can run for president someday. You never know. Shirley Chisholm, Caribbean roots. Kamala Harris, Caribbean roots. Yvette Clarke, Caribbean roots. Lots of politicians, Caribbean roots. All right. So, as this guy in Guyana, some guy called himself TikTok Uncle, said, big it up. So I'd like to say big it up for all of those with the Caribbean roots indeed. Right. All right. Keith Beresford is saying that the Honorable Congresswoman is hardball. It simply means that she is a tough cookie. She gets the job done. All right. It sounds as though I'm on her campaign, right? All right. So we are still awaiting the Honorable Congresswoman to be with us. At 18 minutes after 9 o'clock on this beautiful Tuesday evening. So when the Congresswoman is on, we will let you know, and we will get ready to rock and roll in just a moment.
Yes, my name is Jasnity Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make
there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yeah.
Lots and lots of corruption relationship. There hasn't been any investigations. I don't know what is happening. And every single night, that is what we do here. We remind you of these things. We remind you of the discrimination. We remind you of political victimization, all manner of stuff. But at some point in time, as Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson says, let's keep hope alive, right? Let's keep hope alive. And I'm sure that our Honorable Congresswoman out there in Brooklyn would oftentimes say, let's keep hope alive as well. Let's get straight over to Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Again, no stranger to you guys. Here is the Congresswoman. Good night to you, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, good night. Good to be with you, Mark. Good to be with you once again.
It's always good to have you here on 107.1 FM. I know you are preparing for the big day, which is November 5th. All people, everyone watching this program should be prepared for that big day as well. But before we get to that big day, we want to find out a little bit as to what you've been up to. We know you've been busy, but we know that also on November 21st, you have another big day coming up. Preparing for that big day, November 21st?
Yes, that's my birthday.
Yes, that's a big day indeed, and we want you to celebrate it in nice, grand style after the November 5th elections here in the United States of America. It's so important that we're going to get to that shortly. But what have you been up to recently, Congresswoman?
Well, this is the height of the election season, and quite frankly, November 5th is just the culmination of the election season because many states across this nation have already begun voting. And we will begin on Saturday here in New York State with early voting up until November 5th. So it's been about traveling this country, letting folks know how important this election is, how much power they have in their voice and their vote, and what we need to do as a community to preserve our democracy. So I've been traveling from Washington, D.C. to Ohio to Pennsylvania to Baltimore, Maryland to Delaware. I've just been on the road, really encouraging our folks to vote. I'll be doing a number of campaigns right here in New York State where we know down ballot we can get the majority in the House of Representatives in the hands of Hakeem Jeffries, who will be our next speaker. So it's really all day, every day, making sure that we're touching the hearts and minds of the voters so that they understand the imperative of going out to vote in this election and voting the Democratic ticket from the very top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket. And in New York State, there are also some ballot proposals that are on the ballot that are very important for us to weigh in on. There's proposal number 1, which we're encouraging everyone to vote yes on, which speaks to the equality of our state and our state laws and how they're applied to people of varying demographics and backgrounds. And then a whole host of other proposals that below proposal number 1 that I believe are 2 through 6 that we're encouraging everyone to decline, to vote no on. So we're establishing a campaign called Flip the Ballot so that people don't just vote for candidates, but they vote for these proposals that will govern our lives for the next generation. So it's important that we understand what's before us. There are proposals on the ballot in this election season, along with our candidates. And we want to make sure that Vice President Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. And that's what I'm working towards, in addition to the down ballot elections that will bring Democrats to the majority in the House of Representatives so that Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn, New York, will become the next Speaker of the House.
Thank you so much for that, Congresswoman. But what's the mood like of the people there? I know you've traveled around the country. You're still traveling around the country to ensure that this becomes a reality, that the Honorable Vice President becomes the President of the United States of America, and it will be a first female President of the United States of America. What's the mood like on the ground there in Brooklyn, New York?
People are really excited. They're doing all that they can to be of assistance, whether it's traveling to Pennsylvania to knock on doors and canvass to identify voters to get out the vote because they've already begun voting in Pennsylvania. We are making phone banking to various parts of the country to encourage, particularly in the swing states, people to come out and vote. We are also working very hard to make sure that in upstate New York and on Long Island, we flip those seats that have voted for President Biden and Vice President Harris in the last election so that we can restore them to Democratic representation in the House of Representatives. Just in the state of New York alone, if everyone votes down ballot, that will guarantee that Hakeem Jeffries becomes the next Speaker of the House of Representatives. And so it is just critical that we reach out to everyone we know to let them know that our vote in the United States is our power. And when we don't vote, we are basically yielding and surrendering our power to our adversaries who have a very different vision of what the American dream looks like. It typically does not include people who look like you and I. And certainly with the Project 2025, their manifesto for governance of this country, the dehumanization, the very draconian measures that they're taking to maintain white supremacy in this nation, indicates to me that they know what we know, that we live in a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious nation. And there are many who find common cause with Donald Trump and see him as a tool for oppression and for maintaining what they believe they're losing, which is their dominance over the greatest society.
Thank you
So
again.
this election is critical, and I really want to encourage us to go out and vote early. Again, early voting begins this Saturday. You can find out what your early voting polling station is by calling the Board of Elections or one of your elected officials. But it's critical that we make a plan to go out and to vote and to encourage others. We need to send a resounding message to those who would subordinate us as human beings in this society, in this democracy, after all that our ancestors did to bring about racial equality. We've got work to do, folks, and that's why this election is so consequential, because should we not prevail, the plans that they have for us in Project 2025 will be generations long before we're able to overcome the dismantling of our democracy.
Well said. I know we're looking at the time here with you. Busy schedule indeed. We still have a couple of minutes, I believe. But Kamala Harris, roots, of course, I want to see the smile on your face. Roots, Jamaican roots. There you go. There you go. Outside of that, we're seeing lots of Republicans joining the campaign, endorsing her. A big endorsement coming from.
I call that true patriotism, because the contrast is glaring. Donald Trump has yet to articulate a vision for our nation that includes a democracy. When you have someone who is audacious enough to say that day one they'd like to be a dictator, that indicates to us that this is certainly a really important election that we have to show up in. And when you think about how he mishandled his presidency, all of the crises that we face, from the Muslim ban to the pandemic, we really suffered major setbacks under the Trump administration. And he wasn't able to accomplish a number of his goals during his tenure as president, and that's because he had guardrails and real patriots around him. They could have done much more damage had they adhered to his demands. However, we are in a place now where he's had a trial run at being president of the United States. He understands where all of the agencies, power lies, and he's already articulated a desire to re-engineer those agencies so that they are accountable to not the American people, but to him. And so this is some dangerous stuff that we're dealing with. And, the only way that we counteract it is by overwhelming the polls between now and election day, so that we send a resounding victory to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and all of the candidates down ballot to make sure that we are victorious on election day.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Folks, Just a reminder that early voting begins this Saturday for New Yorkers. Early voting, you can go out and vote as of this Saturday. Congresswoman, Donald Trump has been threatening people, and you have your roots in the Caribbean. Your mom, Dr. Clarke, Jamaican, your family, Jamaicans, and so forth and so on. Lots of friends from other Caribbean countries and islands. You have been good to people from the Caribbean. And I just know that you understand how they feel when someone is threatening them with deportation and attacking the immigrant community. How dangerous it is what Donald Trump is doing, threatening to deport even citizens.
Well, I mean, we've already seen what he's capable of doing. When we had the first set of sort of migrations to the United States during his tenure, he separated families. We're still in the process of trying to reunite some of those children that they stripped away from their parents who were fleeing persecution and violence in their nations, in their home countries. And the trauma of that child separation policy that he put in place will resonate for generations in many families, in many communities, as a result of his evil intent, which was to really create a hardship beyond hardship for families that were simply seeking to breathe free, as we say here in the United States of America. We've already seen, his attack on the Haitian community in Ohio, where they manufactured lies to demonize the people of Springfield, Ohio. And he's already talking about who's going to be mass deported. And I think that it's important for us as people of African descent to understand that deportation is not relegated to one particular nation. That we are all under attack when our Haitian sisters and brothers are under attack. Certainly, if you don't hear my accent, there's nothing in my appearance that differentiates me from my Haitian brothers and sisters. And so we've got to stand up as descendants of folks who have come from other nations of African descent who are being targeted right now, and who will continue to be targeted, who stand apart from the greater society due to our skin color, the texture of our hair, those types of identifiable markers that would, essentially give those who desire the same type of fate to people of African descent, no matter where they're from or where they were born in this nation. We have members of Congress who are prepared to follow through on all that Donald Trump has stated during this campaign season, many of whom have already demonstrated their racism through the policies that they have tried to pass in Washington, D.C. So this is a real a pivotal moment in the life of our nation. And we're here. We've been here for generations now. We've fully enjoyed the franchise as people of African descent in this country for only 50 years. But now that we're here, we're citizens, we need to make sure that we add value to being here, that we understand and support our democracy. We came here because we were looking for opportunities. If we wanted to live in societies where we were dictated to, this would not have been the nation we came to. So I want to really encourage everyone. This is a critical time for us to do everything we can to go out to vote, to encourage others to vote. We are very influential as Caribbean people because our diaspora is located throughout this nation in many of these swing states, from Florida to Georgia, from North Carolina to Pennsylvania. Let us call all of our relatives, our friends, our classmates, our schoolmates, and let them know that we are relying on them to make the difference in this moment. And can you imagine that the Caribbean American community could be the pivotal vote in electing the first woman of Caribbean descent to the highest office of our land? But we can make that difference. And so I'm here to really encourage everyone in this moment. Let's, we can't take our foot off the gas now. We have to move forward. We have to move with all deliberate speed and with focus. Don't let what you're hearing about polling and anything else take the blinders off the finish line. And we don't cross that finish line until polls close on November 5th. We need to get every single voter under our influence into those polls. And we are very influential. We are all in group chats. We are all on social media. We all have connections and followers. We need to be putting up the picture of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz each and every day on our social media so that our folks know where we stand and that they are encouraged in this moment to do their civic duty.
Well said. That's quite a mouthful indeed, and encouraging you guys to go out and vote because it's important that you go out and vote for Kamala Harris, the first female president of the United States of America. And I know we all can't wait to address her, Congressman, as Madam President.
Absolutely. And let me just say a little thing about her running mate, Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz. Tim Walz and I were elected to Congress in the same session of Congress. He is an extraordinary man of humble beginnings, small town. He can probably relate to many of us who come from villages and different small spaces in the nations from whence we hail. He understands what it is to live in rural America. And he is a girl dad. I mean, I just love the relationship that I saw firsthand that he cultivated with his daughter, who was just a little girl on the floor of the house, hugging up her dad and inquiring about what he was doing. And he took his time with her, and she was always by his side. That says to me, this is a man who really understands family values, who values children and their education and access to education. So this is a dynamic duo. Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz, and Vice President Kamala Harris will make an extraordinary shift in the United States. And what I love about this ticket as well is that they're a new generation of leadership. And you have one person who comes from rural America and the other who comes from urban America. You know, they call Oakland, California, the Brooklyn of California, and that's because of its diversity. And so Kamala Harris has a very similar inclinations as we do here in New York City, because of the diversity of the people who we live amongst, the cultural exchange that we have with one another. She is no stranger to this. And so I am excited about her agenda for America. When we talk about the economic opportunity agenda, she's got her finger on the pulse. She understands that we're struggling with housing across this nation. We were the canaries in the coal mine here in New York. But now this is a national phenomenon, the lack of affordable housing. And she has made this a cornerstone of her economic agenda, alongside supporting our small businesses, which are the lifeblood here in the city of New York. She understands that we have been struggling with disparities in healthcare, that our educational system needs to be undergirded with all of those states' rights folks stripping Black history from the curriculums in certain parts of this country. I really believe at the end of the day, it scared a segment of the population in the United States when we had the audacity to elect President Obama, and we are in the midst of a backlash, and that's what Donald Trump is symbolic of, the backlash against a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial civil society where people are treated with dignity and there's equity, diversity, and inclusion in everything that we do. So we've got work to do, folks. We can win this. It's right in our grasp. We just need to stay focused and get to every voter that we can to make sure that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz become the next president and vice president of the United States. And while you're at it, I'm also on the ballot. Don't leave out your Congresswoman.
I was just about to remind them that do not leave out your Congresswoman, not Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Do not leave her out at all. And then you have Congressman Hakeem Jeffries.
Absolutely.
All set. How optimistic are you that you guys are going to get that majority in the House so that Congressman Jeffries can get that?
Well, we have the Republicans have a very small majority right now. We only need 4 new seats in the House of Representatives, and that is assuming everyone else gets reelected for him to assume the speakership of the House of Representatives. So it's right, again, within our reach. We could do that right here in the state of New York by electing Laura Gillen and Amandia Jones, John Avlon, Josh Riley. There are a whole re-electing Pat Ryan, with re-electing Tom Suozzi on Long Island, with all of these seats that are attainable right here. The state of New York should be the ones to make sure that Hakeem Jeffries becomes the next Speaker of the House. And then across this nation, we are running very strong in all the swing states and other states across this nation. The Congressional Black Caucus could rise to the number of 65 members within the United States Congress just through this election alone. That is historic in terms of the numbers of people of African descent that will serve in the Congress. Not to mention that there is the possibility of us having at least 5 Black Democratic senators with the election of Colin Allred, Angela Alsobrook of Maryland, Colin Allred of Texas, Angela Alsobrooks of Maryland, and Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware, joining with Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator Cory Booker, 5 Black people, 2 of whom will be women, could now be seated within the United States Senate. But it's up to us. We've got to get out. We've got to vote. We've got to encourage everyone we influence to come out and vote, and we can make this happen. In the House of Representatives, we're having a historic number of members elected to Congress in this upcoming election. And so we feel really good about where we are right now. We just know that the work doesn't stop. We are still the underdogs in this race, but we've got the momentum. We've got the candidate to bring home the victory.
We've got the momentum. We've got a candidate to bring home the victory, the birthday victory for you. We want to see you celebrating your birthday on the 21st with that victory in mind. And as you go out to vote on November 5th, keep in mind that you'll be giving the Honorable Congresswoman that birthday vote, that birthday vote. You did say that sometimes we don't get the accent, but I recall when you accompanied President Obama to Jamaica, all of a sudden I'm like, all I heard was "Awagwan" between you and the President of the United States. of
That's
America.
true. That's true. But President Obama had quite a few Jamaicans working in the White House as part of his administration. So, we're everywhere. And I think that it's recognition of the hard work, the dedication, the way in which we have stepped up in leadership in our communities, in our households, in our respective endeavors, that we are being selected at every level to not only participate as members of administrations, but also in the private sector. We are making strides and leaps and bounds, and that can only continue. We can only build upon that if we understand our power and how to maximize on it. And that power in America is called the vote. And when each of us goes out to vote, it makes a hell of a difference. And I'll give you just a quick story about the Honorable Dr. Una Clarke, because everyone celebrates the Councilwoman Una Clarke, but no one remembers the fact that had not 36 people come out to vote for her, she could have lost that election. Just 36 voters made the difference between her and her opponent winning that seat. And so every vote counts. It's critical that we go out there. And Dr. Una Clarke, as we know, was the first foreign-born woman elected to the New York City Council, really the voice of a Caribbean community that had not been heard in the halls of the city council. And so we have made a real difference by using our vote and electing many others in our community. I think Brooklyn may have more Caribbean elected officials in one location than anywhere else in the United States, in one borough. I mean, Florida, of course, has many, but they're in different cities. Right here in the city of New York, we probably have one of the largest concentrations of elected officials in the New York State altogether. As a matter of fact, many folks don't know, but the candidate running in the Mid Hudson Valley is Mondaire Jones, whose grandmother, which he speaks about so fondly in his commercials, was a Jamaican woman. So he's Jamaican American. Again, we are in every space, in every place in this nation. If we decide that we're going to unite around Kamala Harris, there's no way that she won't win this race.
Absolutely no way she wouldn't win this race. Your mom, Dr. Una Clarke, I remember her first campaign, on Cortelli Road, walking around with flyers. Give her my regards, a woman who has paved the way for so many politicians, successful politicians. I hope someday there'll be a big street out there in Brooklyn named after her, the Una Clarke Street. She deserves that and more. But quickly, before we go, you did say that President Obama had some Jamaicans in the White House and working around him. I want to ask you a question, but I'll just whisper it because I don't want anybody else to hear. Were you asked to serve in the cabinet of President Kamala Harris? Would that be a big yes?
No, I have not been asked to serve. I have made it clear that I'm running for re-election to the House of Representatives. I've got a lot of work to do. As a matter of fact, I am the first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. In the next session of Congress, I will become the chairperson of the Congressional Black Caucus. And so I like to be among the people, with the people, advocating for the people, and my people in particular, who have been subjected to disparities, discrimination, and bigotry. And we want to make sure that this generation is the one that makes the hard pivot away from those destructive policies that have held us back for generations now. I am very focused on making sure that we pass legislation to counteract what our adversaries have been trying to do in education, to educate our people. I wanted to share with you my concerns about the massive misinformation and disinformation campaigns, the use of AI technology to deceive people in this election season. I had introduced legislation very early on because I have focused a lot of my work in Washington on technology and the use of technology and what it can do to discriminate and deceive people. And so I want our folks to be fact checkers, not to distribute false information that they may receive through their Facebook feeds, their X feeds, their WhatsApps. It is important that our people get accurate information because or they're all indications that our communities, Black communities in particular, are being targeted for misinformation and disinformation campaigns. And so we have got to step up our game. We have to be fact checkers. We have to make sure that information we receive is accurate. And we also need to make sure that we stay focused on the goal. The idea is to throw us off with misinformation, is to try to disillusion people so that they're not excited about this election. But we are joyful warriors, and we're going to win this battle against evil, quite frankly. When I think about Kamala Harris and what she has brought, the dignity that she has brought to her campaign versus her opponent, who has resorted to profanity and name calling and just downright disgusting fear tactics to scare people into voting for him or scare people out of voting, period. We can't fall for that. We have got to stay focused, laser focused on delivering this victory for ourselves through Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, many interviews I've done with you, you've never been as energized as you are this evening. I don't know. Where do you get this energy? You're busy on the campaign trail. You're all over. You're trying to get Kamala Harris elected as president of the United States of America. You are trying to be reelected as well. I know there will.
It's an imperative, Mark. We can't afford to play around with this. The policies of Project 2025 it's targeting our communities. Everything that they are proposing is to subordinate our humanity, is to retrench their thoughts and their policies into a way of life that our children would not be able to overcome in our lifetime. We've got to understand that this is a very, very serious election. And I want to, encourage my folks in this moment because I know how powerful we are. I know what we're capable of doing. I'm a beneficiary of what we are capable of doing. If our community didn't come out to vote for me, I would not be serving in the House of Representatives. And so I want to encourage everyone, really, let's stay focused. There will be all manner of disruption, of disgusting rhetoric to try to make us, to stop our momentum, to disillusion us, and to suppress our voting strength. We've got to overcome that. We've got to see beyond what is being said and be very laser focused on who will ultimately we will be influential over. Clearly, Vice President Kamala Harris has extended herself in less than 3 months to get to this point. I think people forget that Donald Trump has been running ever since he incited the insurrection of January 6th. And he's been running ever since on lies and deception. We started this election cycle with Joe Biden, who's an extraordinary leader in and of himself, who in late July made the determination that he would step down and empower his vice president. And so she has only been running for for president for close to 3 months now. And so she's been running a sprint when Donald Trump has been running a marathon. He has been able to consolidate his sycophants. And so we have got to consolidate around Kamala Harris.
Well said. I noticed lots of people in Brooklyn. They're saying former principal Dr. Clarke needs a street to be named after her. All manner of people are saying Brooklyn in the house. Were we to close off elections tonight with the amount of support you're getting and the vice president is getting, trust me, it's over. But you've got to go out. Early voting starts this Saturday.
In New York State, it has started in other parts of the country already. And so please, if you're in New York State, you make a plan to vote. Don't just leave it to the last minute, because anything can happen at any point in time. This is a very serious exercise. Doing our civic duty, getting out to vote is critical in this moment. And we need to see this moment is not the ending, but the beginning of a movement to liberate our people, to be influential enough to give guidance in terms of policy that will impact our families and our community. We know that with the Harris-Walz ticket, we have that influence. And so it is in our best interest to make sure that we get everyone who is 18 years and over. And if they're 17 and will be 18 by November 5th, make sure they're registered to vote. On Saturday is a very unique time in New York State, because it is what we call the Golden Day. And you may ask, why is that? Well, that is a point where it will be the last day that you can register to vote in the state of New York. And on that same day, be able to cast your affidavit ballot for the ticket. And this is a unique phenomenon in our state. It's that first day of early voting coincides with the last day of voter registration. So if you have young people in your households, newly sworn in citizens who have not registered to vote, let them register. They can register right now, to vote, or they can show up at the early voting site where they can actually register to vote and cast an affidavit ballot on the same day.
Well said, Congresswoman. Yvette Clarke has been in Congress, since 2007. You've been working so hard for the people of Brooklyn, for the people of New York.
It's a labor of love, Mark Benschop. It's truly a labor of love. This is a community that I was born and raised and have lived the vast majority of my life in, and I owe it to my forerunners, my ancestors, the Honorable Shirley Chisholm, the Honorable Dr. Una Clarke, who paved the way for my voice to be a voice for our people. And so in the spirit of Shirley Chisholm, in the spirit of Dr. Una Clarke, we must lift up Vice President Kamala Harris in this time and make sure that we take her to victory.
Give Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, soon to be President of the United States of America, our regards. And when next you're on Joy Reid's program, interviewing her, give her our regards. She's always wearing the Guyanese. You're bigging up the Jamaicans and the Caribbean people. I know that's what you're doing, but the Guyanese, tell Joy Reid we say hi.
Oh,
Congresswoman, I know a lot of Guyanese.
she truly remembers from when she's come and to whom she's belonged. She's a very proud Guyanese.
She's GT, as they would say. Can't
Very
wait to have
well.
you reelected. Can't wait to have you reelected again. Lots of Guyanese and Caribbean people and other non-Caribbean people are watching. Here's your opportunity to thank them in advance for going out and make this happen. You
Well,
reelected.
I'm just grateful that I've been given the opportunity to serve. And, while I'm elected by the people of the Ninth District of New York, and I am focused on the needs of our communities here in Brooklyn, the work that I do in Washington, D.C., reverberates across this nation because it impacts, when you pass laws, it impacts an entire nation. You are my inspiration. You are my motivation. This is our moment, and we need to seize it because we don't know when a time like this will come again, where we will have the Speaker of a House who is a Black man from Brooklyn, a new President of the United States who is a Black Caribbean Indian woman from California, and a vice president who's from Nebraska, but is governor of Minnesota. We've got a unique opportunity, and we should certainly take full advantage of that. Let me again thank your listeners, your viewers, for their unyielding support for the work that I've been doing for me and my family. Because what we do is a labor of love. I was born into a family of activism and service, and it is a passion of mine as well. I guess it's in my DNA. I just really, truly love the work that I do and the people that I work for most of all.
Thank you so much again. Just before we go, you've started something. Now somebody's saying Joy Reid's godmother is Jamaican. My gosh,
That's
what have you?
right. As a matter of fact, when I went to Jamaica, I saw Joy in Jamaica, and she was visiting with her godmother.
Oh my gosh. Honorable Congresswoman, thank you so much. Can't wait to see you become chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Can't wait to see you reelected. And can't wait to see you on the 21st of November when you celebrate your 16th birth anniversary.
We won't go that far back. We won't go that far back, Mark.
Thank
But
you.
I will be celebrating a monumental birthday on November 21st. I'm looking forward to it. God has been good to me. And, we give thanks for every day that we have to give service to the people, his people, right here on earth. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for all that you have done and all that you continue to do for the people of New York, for the people of America, and by extension, benefit the people of the Caribbean. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Many blessings.
Thank you so much. All right, Honorable Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, there for you guys. Don't forget, early voting. Early voting starts in New York State this Saturday. Early voting is around the country in other states and so forth. But for those of you who are in New York State, early voting begins this Saturday. Go out and do what is right. You've got to do what is right. You've got to vote and ensure that the first woman is elected president of the United States of America. And of course, her vice presidential candidate will become the vice president of the United States of America. For those who are listening to our program all the way in Minnesota, Minneapolis, they have Bloomfield, they have Shackfield, and all those other places out there in Minnesota and around the U.S. Good night to all of you. Can't wait. Re-elect this honorable Congresswoman who has been fighting for you guys, and she will become the chair of the Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus. Can't wait for that to happen. And for now, we've got to go. Thank you all so much. I know I've promised you to deal with some other issues in Guyana, but we will deal with that tomorrow. It's been a good 1 hour, and we will leave on that note. A good 1 hour. Thank you again, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. And thanks to all of you who have tuned in on tonight's program. We'll be back again, same place, same time, tomorrow evening. God bless you. So long.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness, aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, who tell the truth? Mark Benschop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benschop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benschop, straight up from the root. Mark Benschop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up me.